Okay guys, this is gonna be how to do lighting in ZBrush. A lot of us are like, let's not, I don't want, BPR render's not that great or whatever, but I'm gonna show you how you can get some pretty cool results pretty quick. I just started up with the regular Dynamesh project. I'm gonna dock my light shelf, and we're gonna think about a a 3-point light system. So let's change our material to something more pleasing, and also change the color. Okay, so I'm gonna place, kind of think of about a camera shot. We're gonna make this look, this can be an awesome lighting. We're gonna make this sphere look awesome, you know. But you're gonna learn some techniques. So I'm gonna place my key light where I want it and kind of increase the intensity to where I would like. I'm just thinking some nice shadows, something that's gonna get a nice floor shadow or something, and cool. So we're gonna add our second light with light cap. So go ahead, open up light cap and create a new light. And so this is going to be our fill light. So I'm going to go off to the side a little bit. Think about final gather a little bit, kind of indirect lighting. I'm going to increase the fall off, but I'm going to lower the intensity really low. And I think we should give this kind of like a bluish tint, a nice cool, just that's the color of the environment. I mean, we're trying to recreate a realistic lighting situation here. So I'm going to kind of put that at a strength I like. It's a little low, but we'll play around with it. So let's create a new light. And this is going to be our rim light. And you can change the lights with the light index, by the way. You just go through that. Now, the rim light's going to be pretty bright. It's going to be the brightest, but it's not that big of a deal because it's going to be behind the sphere. And so what you can do, you can double click where you move your light, and this will place it behind the sphere. I don't know if you knew that, but you can double click and it will be behind the sphere, and so you can move the light now. And so now it's more like a rim light. So I'm going to play around with it till I get some nice lighting in my viewport for what I'm kind of going for. I want a nice speck, kind of nice little like shine on the outer silhouette towards the right. So let's see if I can get that. That looks kind of nice. Okay, so I'm gonna pick like a contrasting color to my fill. So that would be kind of yellowish, a warm color. And let's go a little bit more towards white. There we go. I kind of think the fill light needs to be a little bit brighter now, but we're getting somewhere. Let's go ahead and go back to the fill light and do that. And I'll play with it to something I get. Yeah, it needs to be brighter. Alright, cool. So I'm gonna play with the color of the sphere. And play it. Yeah, there we go. I like that. Okay. So you can play with the range in your document palette. That's just, the gradient of the background. You can play around with the settings here, the center, till you get something you like. It doesn't really matter. We're going to comp it over in Photoshop. I'm just showing you. Cool, let's do a render. Okay, so I knew this was going to happen. A lot of the times in ZBrush, the shadows kind of conflict each other and it doesn't look that nice. So if you don't like that, what you can do is you can go to the light cap and actually turn off the shadows for each light. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off the shadows for each one of my lights that I added on the light cap. So for my rim light as well. And then do a re-render. It'll look much better. Ta-da! Now, come on, there. So this is a good practice. Try to make a sphere look good in ZBrush, but just lighting. It's not that. It's not too many settings. Play around with it, because if you can do this, what I'm showing you, you can learn to make a presentation in Photoshop. So let's play with some settings. With the shadow, you can up the blur in the BPR shadow, and that'll give you some softer shadows. It won't really mess with the ground shadows, but if you want to soften the shadows on the mesh, you can blur the shadows. Doesn't take too long to render. so to clean up those floor shadows, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to up the rays. So I'm not gonna up this too high, because it's just a sphere. But if you ever wanted to clean up those floor shadows, you need to up your rays. And I'm probably gonna end up turning it down just to do a quick render. Okay. So let's save this out. Go to BPR render pass, and we're gonna save out our BPR. Go to your folder. I like to do a specific little folder structure. So what I'll do is I'll just create a number for my view. So say this is my first view. This is my number one view. Okay, and then in that number one, I'll just save all these BPRs, BPR render. I won't even change the settings. Leave it as a PSD. Okay, BPR shadows, save it, because it gets annoying to have to rename this when you're trying to do a presentation of like 4 different views. So I just do it really quick. Bam, bam, bam. I don't even need the floor, but there you go. Cool. I'm gonna do one more view to kind of simulate if you were doing this for a sculpt. So this would be your side view. I mean, you're not really gonna be able to tell because it's a sphere, but for the most part, you'll get the concept. Let me zoom out a little bit. Maybe that'll help. And so this is trying to be a different view. And so I'm going to show you how you can use ZBrush and Photoshop to comp these together, and just to make a good presentation. How do you take these renders and put them together? So let's save that out. Like I said, I just create like a number 2. There we go. Bam. Second view. And then I don't do any renaming for the BPR render. I just use ZBrush's default naming. Alright, cool. So we got this. Let's bring this into Photoshop, and I'll show you some cool post effects and just how to get it done. Okay, so I like to just open up my folder finder and basically just drag and drop them into Photoshop. So I'll just do the first view first. I've imported my mask, my render, and my shadows. Okay, so start out with the mask. We want to select everything, okay? So just press Control A, select all, and then Control Copy. Go to your BPR render, go to your channels, and then we're going to make a new layer, and this should create an alpha 1. Paste your mask into this alpha 1. Now if you hold Control and click on alpha 1, it will select everything that's white. It'll select your alpha. And so now you can either select the RGB channel, or you can go to layers, double click background, and this will ask you, are you sure you want to make this new layer? Okay. And then now press Control J. This will separate it from your background. Control J. Cool. So you can create a new canvas if you'd like to import this or just move it onto. So you can comp them all both on there. Cool, so you can just go back to your render, and then now you can just translate this over to your new canvas. And so you could do this for each one of your views, and then shabam, you got them all in one image. And so this is a better way so that you can create a nice presentation rather than just doing a screen capture. Okay, but we're not going to do it this way because we need to bring the shadow into it. We're going to kind of try to get the shadows back in here. And so it gets a little weird on how to do this. So the way I kind of go about it is I paste the shadow pass on the BPR pass. I don't paste it on the new document because it won't match up. So you need to copy the BPR shadow, Control A, Control C, and then copy it over into your BPR render. Alright, and then put it on top. And then just change your layer type to multiply. And so there you go. Everything's white right now because we don't have a background. But once we put a background, that'll go away. So what I like to do is I'm gonna create a quick little color fill just to see if this is, there we go. So as you can see, we can, we'll just do a gradient map. Go ahead and do that. Pick some colors that we might like. Play around. Pick 2 colors. Alright, so I'm gonna go to circular real quick, play with that, and then I'm gonna go to a kind of just like it was, like a range gradient. Alright, and so kind of simulating a floor. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just a sphere, and so we'll go with that. I tried merging it to see if it would let me do that, but it wouldn't. It doesn't work. So what you need to do is you have to select both your shadow pass and your BPR layer, layer 2 and layer 1, if you want to translate them. That's what I ended up doing. I'm sure there's an easier way, but for the sake, I just did it this way. So select both of them and just move it over. Okay, cool. So we can just do the same thing for our other view. And now you won't be able to tell that this is a different view, but it's really just me trying to show you the concept so you can do this for your sculpts, because you will want to show more than one view. So I'll just go ahead and do it again real quick. This time I'll do it faster. So Control A, Control C, bring it into the BPR renders channels, create a new layer that will create an alpha layer. Control click that, go to RGB, Control J, and then I already moved on to the shadows. I'm not even checking. I'm going really quick here, and so I'm pasting the shadow on top of the separated layer. Go to multiply. So what I did to bring this is I selected both of them, select the shadow layer and the separated layer, and I just moved that um, into where I wanted to bring it. Nope, into the BPR render. Yep. Oh, okay. And then I just dropped those 2 layers on there. And there you go. So, like I said, they look like the same thing, but just pretend like they're 2 different views. And so I'll kind of move it up a little bit, and it's working. Okay, it's working. And so now I want to kind of go over some post effects, what I usually do, just to make my Zbrush stuff look just a little bit nicer. Some cool things. So let's make this, first off, let's make this gradient less tacky. Let's get it looking cool. So I decided to just go around with some grays. Those colors weren't really working. Nice, already better, 100%. Okay, um, and so we can go ahead and start cropping the image. Um, we need to kind of oh no, I don't crop the image. Actually, create a new layer, and what I do is I like to paint a little bit of light with the airbrush. And as you can see, it's getting a little bit brighter there. Um, and so then I kind of use a blur, motion blur, to blur that light as if it was some rays or something. And so this is just to give it a more nicer quality. Because, why not? It's just a presentation. So we want to think presentation here. How can we make this look pretty cool? We're trying to show off this model. Okay, and so now we can go ahead and crop it. Thinks of, rule of thirds. Just kind of like trying to get a cool little canvas here. Now, yeah, look at this. These are like the coolest spheres on the block. All right, and so let's go ahead and add some cool text. You know, um, this is what I do for my sculpts. I mean, I don't do it for for the sphere, but I mean, but you get what I'm saying. It's this is how I present sculpts very quickly. You don't have to go into Maya or anything. You can just render right out of ZBrush and do some cool little stuff. So I changed the text to make it, nice and modern. It's a modern sphere. So I double clicked on that text layer. So what I like to do is I usually add like a little drop shadow, play with the angle, the size, spread, distance, play with the settings until you get something you like, and then go for subtlety. turn down that opacity. If someone can tell that you're using drop shadow, you're doing it wrong. Like, no one wants to like think that. So you want to turn it really low, so where that you can't even see it. But if you turn off the visibility of it, it's actually making a difference. So so just go really low. It's subtlety that counts. I was playing with the bevel and boss, but nah, it's not the kind of look that I want for this. So I'm just gonna turn that off. Cool. So I'm gonna lower the opacity of that so it blends with the range a little bit of the gradient. Alright, so I control option shift E to merge visible. And so now what I'm doing is I'm creating a vignette with the burn tool. If you don't know what a vignette is, it's basically darkening the corners of the image. You can see me doing this right now. It creates a very nice composition, and it brings your focus towards the spheres. And then I just kind of lower the opacity because, like I said, subtlety. You don't want people to know that you're doing a vignette, but it's there. So I just checked the visibility to see that. Now you can add an adjustment later, photo filter. I like to add, a specific color. I think blue would work nice for this. So lower the opacity of it. Subtlety, subtlety, subtlety. And then I'm gonna add a levels. This is a little curves actually. It's a little trick I do. I create a clipping mask into the curves, and so the curves controls the lows and the highs of that color, and so I can kind of get a nice little dramatic lighting, and then I'll lower the opacity, of course, and I'll turn that on and off to show you what just happened. You see, and so that's really it. I mean, come on, those are some cool spheres. You gotta admit. Anyways, I hope that helps you with how to make a presentation in Photoshop and ZBrush. Make use of it. Show off your models. Later, guys.